Okay, we have a quorum, so we can go to. I've got to get this off my screen. Can I get that off my screen? Oh, I lost everybody now. What happened? I
I
lost
just
you.
started screen sharing the agenda.
All right, but I lost. I lost everybody.
Can you hear
I
us?
hear.
Yeah, we can
I'm
hear
not.
you.
I can't see anything though. All right, hang on. So, all right, I'm good. Here we go. All right, we're up and running. Welcome everyone to the June 24th, 2025 meeting of the Douglas Library Board of Trustees. Uh, it is 6:30. We have a quorum. Hopefully everyone had um, a chance to read the minutes that Ellie posted. Um, if I could get an entertain a motion, excuse me, to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
A second. Do we have a second on
Second,
accepting the minutes?
ex- second to accept the minutes.
Okay. Are there any discussion, questions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Minutes have been accepted unanimously. Moving on to the financial report from Justin.
Here is where we are. This paints a little bit rosier of a picture than it looks like because it looks like, oh, we've got $30,000 left and there's just a few days left and we can spend it all. Woo-hoo! But unfortunately, no, because the compensations cannot be mixed with anything else. So once you take that 30,000, subtract 21,000, that's actually how much we have left.
Mm,
And we have only paid 1 month of electric bills because of the way the electric credits have stacked up this year. So we're processing that tomorrow. I still don't anticipate any issues. I think that we'll come in just about where we need to be without turning over a whole lot to the town and without going over. That's the hope. But everything seems to be ticking along. There's not a lot of movement in the private accounts since the last meeting. So we're just kind of wrapping up the end of the fiscal year. That's
right.
where 100% of my focus is right now.
I understand that. I've been there.
The
Um,
processing vouchers will happen Thursday morning. Then I'll have um, Monday. I'll have until Monday to figure out how much left we have to spend in overdrive without, turning over a lot because we don't want to lose that money. But if I
right.
guess the last electric bill wrong, then, we could go over budget. And it's always a harrowing game.
Yeah. Well, I think we have wiggle room,
Yep, there's wiggle room.
definitely.
So if you
So,
do
and
go over, if you do go over, should we uh, approve something like using either LIG, MEG, or the Carrick Fund or something like that to, I'd prefer probably LIG, MEG, but uh, to allow you to take money from there, but not to go crazy with it, just if you're over.
I know, like I'm done. I'm done spending
Yeah,
money for the
yeah,
rest of the
yeah, yeah.
fiscal year. So it's and have been for the last 2 weeks. But it's just invoices come as books get delivered. The book publication pipeline is like crazy weird right now, with Baker and Taylor status on publication and release dates. And then it's always that last electric bill. So, I mean, if y'all wanted to vote to give me a buffer, I mean, I would sleep easier at night. I don't think I'll need it. If I did, I would say it would be like $500 at the most.
I'd like to move that we allow a buffer of $500 from LIG for any overages.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second,
All right, discussion?
Makes sense.
Sounds good to me.
All right,
Well, thank you.
all right, so, well,
We
we
want you
need
to
to
sleep
vote,
well.
Justin, wait a minute. Has everybody had a chance to speak? Okay, all those in favor of providing a $500 buffer from LIGMEG, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Hearing none? Okay, it carries unanimously. All right. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we done
On
with
to the
finance and on to directors?
Yeah.
Circ stats continue to go up. No surprise. That's the same story every month. Also thought I'd keep putting, website visitors and views in it, because this tells another story of, like reading that's happening that's being generated because of stuff we did. So like, 440 Douglas Ways opened, 159 Douglas Mills opened. So we're still trying to increase our subscribership to the Douglas Mill. So if anybody, hasn't told all their friends about it or shouted it from the rooftops or, put out a little yard sign, then, go for it. That'd be cool.
Okay.
Passive programs. Marco actually put out multiple ones this month. So we 27 Mother's Day cards, 50 hummingbird activity books, 32 silly snakes, and 40 colorful caterpillars. And our teas are, I'm anticipating usage going up through the summer. So I'm ordering 200 for July because summer reading brings in a lot more people. And it's going to be blueberry and blackberry, I think.
Oh, that's nice.
We had 28 total programs with 293 total attendees. And yeah, not much other things have happened. I mean, it's very much kind of a chug along month, June is, because it's the last month of the fiscal year. So everyone's trying to use their paid time off. And Deb's trying to use her vacation before summer reading starts. And she's stuck here until mid-August. So we've been stretched, but it's just par for the course for June. And it's hot. It's very hot.
It is. Okay. If we're okay with that, we can move on to old business. And under old business, we have building projects and accessibility. Hopefully everyone saw what Justin sent out and had a chance to review it. I do have to say that I did take some time, went through it, and found exactly what we were looking for at the very end. I'm not sure if anyone
I
else
never got
found it.
that far.
There is a proposal at the very end of a basic outside access elevator, bringing it up, and I'd like to open it up for discussion
So could
to
you
look at it.
explain it a little bit more?
It's basically what we want. We're looking at it's an outdoor, I don't have it off the top of my head, but when I saw it, I was like, aha. Ellie at the last meeting, Ellie had asked about going to a design engineer. My question is, can we use that plan to go forward with something, with a plan for a proposal? Because it's just what we want. And back then, that was what, 2011? He was talking about, Van Horst was talking about $2 million or even less than that. Uh,
Are you talking about Scheme G?
yes,
Scheme G is what became the 2012 final design. Where
you
did
have
this go?
that. Can you bring that up quickly?
I'm trying. It's just this document is huge. I think I
It
have the
is huge.
uncompressed version here. I think I went too far.
No, you got to go further, I think.
But yeah, like so many ideas have come up in conversation over the years. Like, what if we did a ramp here or an elevator there or, this and that and the other? And like, I feel like they're all almost sketched out here. Um, okay, here we go.
Absolutely.
We're getting scrolling.
Come on, baby, keep going. I think it's the heat. I find
The heat
everything's
is
running a little
affecting
slow
things. All
today.
all the libraries that are connected to the Crocker network through CWMRs are down today. Evergreen is operating really slow. And now I'm trying to view this, really, really large PDF.
Right.
No, I know I've gone too far.
It's
Oh, someone has entered the waiting room.
Hello.
Hey, Dana.
Hey, Dana.
No, this is Lee.
Oh, hey,
Oh,
Lee.
hi, Lee.
Hi. I couldn't get into my laptop. It said my password is no good, and now I'm just on the phone.
Thanks.
Well, I apologize for the lag on this.
Well, that's okay, Justin, but I think we should the trustees should really look at this and look at can we use that to go forward with um it's way at the end. It's the last possible thing. I was ready to give up, and there it was. Getting close. Keep going.
Going backwards.
Yeah, go forward. Keep going.
um,
No, go. You go them off. All right, it's close. You.
I don't think there's anything else at the end of the document other than all of
No,
these pictures.
there is the
Nope.
last schematic is a
The
elevator
schematics
on the
are
outside that goes from the back, goes up. Anyhow, if we can bring that up for next meeting in light of trying to get through things and have a discussion on it.
The one thing that I want to know when looking at this, because it was really intriguing, was what can we do with it? Like back to Ellie's question of how can we incorporate older plans without having to have them redone?
Right.
Well, I
Well,
think
that's what
that
I'm
there's a
saying,
lot
Don.
to be learned from these plans because you're talking about this, right? Scheme G.
Um, wait a minute, you're
That's
going to
straight
the
in the
document.
middle of the document, Scheme G.
No. No, well, maybe. It's a, it's a, maybe it is, but where's the ground floor plan? I can't see it on my
This,
screen.
this is as sharp as I can really make it on the screen, but this is the last plan that's in the packet, Scheme
All
G.
right, then
And
that,
this should look very familiar because the
right.
final design that was ready to go in 2015 is this plan.
Is it the one that was displayed on the easels in the library? That was all printed up?
It's I don't know because it was before my time, but it's the $2.5 million renovation. It's that is this plan,
Mhm.
or
Right.
that's what it was going to be in 2011.
Yes, that's it.
Old days.
Okay, but we're trying to be 4 million, 100%
Because
cost of
I think we're at a point where we've kind of, like we're beating the horse to death with a club because we've had these conversations before. All of these schemes have been mapped out. The research has been done. We know what can load bear where. Um, we know that trying to bring the attic online was going to add $3 million to the cost estimate back in 2011. And like everyone looked at it and decided this was kind of the cheapest way to go, short of the ramp option or putting on a cargo lift on the outside.
right.
um, so I mean we're kind of back to we always end up to this same design, basically no matter who
Mhm.
looks at it. This ends up being the cheapest way to go about it. um,
Can
but
we bring it to
it's
someone?
still going to be a price tag of millions of dollars. We're not getting out of this without spending millions of dollars is I think what the moral of the story is here. So before we move forward with anything else, we have to decide, are we willing to make this a town meeting article issue, do a debt exclusion campaign and do go through all that jazz, because that's what it would take to get this over the finish line. Um, unless we can just raise that amount of capital. But until we're either committed to doing that or, well, I mean, unless we're committed to doing that, the funds just aren't available. So I don't know, no matter what, it kind of comes down to this design. It comes down to a price point that's, this around this neighborhood. Um, and the work has already been done. The research is here.
Right.
Can I say something?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this the other day when you were telling Betty and me about it, that architects get paid a lot. It's a percentage of the the amount of what the total building is going to cost. They get a percentage of that, like 10%. Used to be 10%, maybe it's more now, I don't know. And so by taking this and giving it to somebody like um, Stephen Dix to draw up the plans, he's not going to he'll do that for a fee or not for a fee or whatever, and that that's that will be approved by the building inspector, and whatever plan comes up that he looks at this and he'll just draw it. But if we go back to an architect that's where your prices go way up. And it's nothing I mean, I have lots of relatives that were architects, so I have no bad feelings for architects. I like architects, but I think um, we've done it too many times now. And all we actually need is somebody to draw the plans, what
We
we
have a
want. And
plan, Ellie, in that schematic from 2011. It's exactly what we want.
okay, all right. If you're right, that's fine.
So then that was the plan. The 2011 plan was the one we updated in what year was that?
Yeah, it was
2014 or 15?
it was 2015 because I remember I didn't approve it, but I paid the bill whenever we paid Van Voorhis $10,000 to update his quote
Oh,
from
right.
2.3 million to 2.5 million by like adding a 5% calculator to all of the line items, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to just let it go for now?
I mean, like I can call Cubby. I've got the information from Rebecca from him, and I think it might be worth having a conversation just to show these to him and say, like, what would you do with them? What the knowing that we're in the pickle we are with not a lot of money to spend and kind of not having an appetite to raise taxes on the town. Um, is there a path forward there? And if there's not, there's not, and the right thing to do would just be to wait and keep fundraising. Um,
I don't see how we will ever get out of this without raising taxes on the town.
we
No,
won't.
it's just
I don't
that
think.
we might be third in line after the highway and the
I was just
fire.
gonna say the highway.
And then it might be our turn after that. But I don't think they're going to fund us before the highway.
Well, it's also something like the board would need to have a big appetite for. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of groundwork. The Vote Yes committee did it with the override, and the board, for the most part, kind of took a step back from it. And if we went at it that way again, we would lose. Um, so it's like an all-in commitment to do this if we start down this path and say this is what we need. But I also think that there's a value right now to waiting because Uxbridge, Whitensville both got their big grants right next door, and we will get to see what happens with the MBLC grant process as it unfolds over the next 5 years. Any fundraising we do in the meantime gets us at least a little bit more leverage, and then we can reevaluate. But I mean, it's either that or we have to be willing to go after the funding locally.
Right.
And I've never gotten an indication that that's really an option.
No,
Well,
I understand that, and
I would like Justin to talk to Stephen Dix and see what he has to say about it.
Right.
I just don't feel comfortable of waiting to see what, again, the Board of Library Commissioners will, make you do way more than what you really want to do. And I just don't think that that's a good 5 years to wait for that, because I may be dead
I'm
by then, and gee, that would be
not
great
saying it's an
because I won't
ideal
be
thing.
against it. I'll just be gone. But
I mean, in an ideal world, we would have the money and we could do this. Um, it's
now you sound like my parents, something like that. Know,
but we don't.
we can do it. We can. I want a more reasonable quote. That's all. And I think Stephen probably could give it to us.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, are you willing to contact Stephen
Yeah,
Dixon?
I'll ask. I'm not optimistic, but I will ask.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So, so is what we are after, basically what was the firm's name? Samson and Delilah? No, that wasn't it.
Yeah, yeah,
What was the name?
yeah.
So-
They're
And
not.
Voorhees.
So they were going to
No.
give us a quote. Well, they were going to give us a quote for a quote, I think.
Quote of a
But
quote.
Yeah.
That got slammed. So
but that's still the next step we would need is to get
no, because they're going to do the same thing. They're architects too. It's just you don't have to. We have so many plans out there that could be
So what-
consolidated into one plan. And I think he probably could do it. So
and what would we do with this plan? Like, what's the next step
then
as far as the
then
town
we
goes?
that would be asking. I mean, Justin would be talking to Stephen and saying, how do we get a quote for this or whatever,
I mean, the best thing he can do is advise us. We could ask him, like,
Right.
what would it cost? Well, I don't even know what we can ask him. All I can do is open up a dialogue and see what he has to offer.
Right.
But if if we do end up, doing something with what he does, it will still have to go out, to bid, out to contractors and all that jazz to get to like final schematic design and all that stuff. And I don't know how all that works because we've never made it nearly that far before.
Right.
Does Stephen do schematic designs?
I don't think so. No, I don't.
Lori, do you know that?
The floor plans or the work that he did for the Historical Society, it was pretty much straightforward, something that you could hand to a contractor.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So.
but you don't have to pay the prevailing wage, right?
As
Well,
a
that's
nonprofit,
down the road, Ellie.
Yeah, they have different rules than we do
That's
at the
way down the
Historical
road.
Society.
yeah, the
We need to
It's
501c
not
decide.
way down the
fall
road.
under different
It is,
guidelines.
Ellie. Okay. Maybe
I'm
it's
not a
not.
bad girl. I'm telling the
You're
truth.
not a bad. Did I say anything
Well,
about
you're going down the
being a
wrong
bad
road.
girl?
No, you're just, slam. It's not. I was asking Lori if they had to pay prevailing wage. Prevailing wage is an issue for cities and towns, and no, they
Right.
didn't
I
because they're a
agree.
nonprofit. That's all.
All I'm
It wasn't.
saying is that I think that's way ahead of where we're at right now.
Yes.
So let me let me understand this. So we have asked Justin to check in with Stephen about next steps. Ellie, help me with this, a schematic drawing. What are we looking for him to do?
What do we need? What do we actually need to take a next step? And
Well, what was it?
perhaps the town administrator might know.
Or is there somebody on the finance committee that could give us some guidance?
Mhm.
Yeah, Carol Gugulinski might be able to. She's on finance. She's on the building and facilities.
Yeah. So are we able to approach someone from the finance committee and simply say, this is what we have in mind. Can you give us some guidance?
Well,
wasn't
when it
what
comes
we were
close to
asking?
building it, the BFCC will require us to get a current cost of it. So even if we got the cost of it from someone now and we don't look into building it for 4 years, they'll make us do it again.
Right.
So to get a cost estimate now is not going to be helpful.
That's exactly the point I'm making, Betty, is why are we worrying about that right now? That's ahead of what we're trying to get. What is feasible for us? And
Yeah.
Ellie's
Well,
asking,
basically, I think what we would be trying to do is asking him to do the equivalent of a feasibility study. I guess.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because, you know, any drawings, designs, schematics, work we use is going to have to go through, you know, the bid process. We can't just show up with, you know, our plan and say, this is the one. Um,
Exactly.
it's going to have to go out to bid. People are going to have the opportunity to, you know, come in on the design level, not just the finish level. Anything that, you know, reaches that threshold. So we can come up with, you know, our proposal that we would want to put out. You know, if we were, you know, in theory going out to bid tomorrow for this project, but we don't have a plan for funding the project. Um, You know, that's the catch 22. We don't have a plan for funding this project. We also don't know how much this project is going to cost, so we don't know how much to raise to plan for this project. Costs are escalating at such a rate, it's a crapshoot, you know, as to what it's going to cost any number of years down the road. And, you know, any work we do to try to get an estimate is money wasted. But, you know, there's also people who say until you have an estimate, you don't have a fundraising goal and no one's going to want to give you money. So I don't know
How
what the next step is right now in this current political climate and fiscal situation. So I think it might make sense just to take these plans to Cuppy and say, what do you think? You know, I don't know.
I
You know,
just don't, I don't
I don't
want to keep
know.
redoing the same thing. We've gone down this path so many times.
Right.
So what was it that we were what, first of all, what's the name of the company that was doing that was working for the town that was doing the town
That
barn, blah,
was
blah, blah. The one that we were
It's
going to ask for a
and
quote for a quote.
Samson and Delilah.
I know.
No, I'm trying to think. I know the Samson name and I have it written down,
it's
the whole
Wes.
thing.
It's either Wesson and Sampson or
Weston.
Weston
Yes.
and
Yeah,
Sampson.
that's what it is. Weston and
Okay,
Samson.
so we had a little write up of what we wanted that we labored over that we were going to give them and what was it that they were going to create for us. I don't have my notes from them. So
That what they were going to
Um,
create for us was something kind of like what you saw in the schematic design report, where they were kind of outlining the cost. So if it would cost this much for this much piping to do this, and this much for, you know, the work, just kind of to give you a ballpark estimate of what it would cost to design and then construct.
So if I remember right, that was kind of what BFCC wanted or Capital wanted. So it would basically get on their list. And we are on the list now, but it has like no estimate.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Am I
I think
understanding
the
that right?
estimate is still $2.5 million.
Well, we are on that list now, but there's no dollar amount attached to it,
Oh, great. Of course,
right?
I'm confused as to how Capital Committee works now, because last I tried to go to Capital Committee for this concrete thing and they kicked it to the BFCC.
Hmm.
I feel like there should be a manual for how all this stuff works for the town because it's very confusing.
Yeah. 'Cause, you know,
And
when
like the people who are really in it
Mhm.
understand how it works, and I do not understand it.
And big projects don't happen often enough for people to remember and for you to even
Right.
have the same staff on hand. So it's like, you know,
Right.
how do you do this?
I think you hit a lot of it, Justin, just saying that, having the same people on staff, and it changes. As much as we want to say that town government is objective, it can be subjective based on who's in administrative uh, capacities. And it's not for a bad thing, it's just the way it is. So I think we have to, I don't know, I hate to be continuously going over and over the same thing.
So we
I,
can't use Samson and Weston or Weston and Sampson or whatever, but can we get something similar from someone else that would fill the need that BFCC and or Capital wanted?
I mean,
I
we
don't,
could go out to bid if we wanted to. And, you
Right.
know, the money that we have saved us, you know, I talked to Matt about it, would probably get us about 30% of the way through the design process.
Hmm.
before we would have to be like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
We've been through so many design processes. Why do we need to do that again?
I agree.
Well, what we came up with to give to Weston and Sampson was
Um, um,
different. It wasn't the same as the Van Horry's plan.
I mean, we
Where
could,
did it come
like,
from?
is it
That was a long email that we labored over the language, and then Justin sent it to Matt, and Matt sent it to, or was going to send it to Weston and Sampson.
like what we were
Oh, you mean
describing?
the company that used to do stuff for town and then they became unhappy with them and they didn't do
Yes.
it anymore?
Yep.
Oh,
So
well,
Matt
that didn't have
Matt
any
had
plans or anything.
no, there were
Mhm.
no plans.
And the
It was-
language that we came up with in that email was basically scheme G, on
Yeah.
this schematic design report. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe the proposal needs to be, we want to take these plans and have them updated and cheapified as much as possible, and then have a fresh quote drawn up.
yeah. Can we do that? Can
I
we?
don't know. I can ask.
It seems a shame
mean-
not to use something that's, more than halfway done.
Again, it's going to cost money. There's going to be a fee. Everything is for a fee.
That's okay.
Or we could find out what the fee is going to be, and we could ask for the funds at Springtown meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Sampson and Weston was initially was going to give us was a quote for how much it would cost for them to prepare the quote.
And I know Matt was sort of disappointed with Weston and Sampson because they were into making fancy dancy buildings like for a town garage. And why do you need a fancy dancy town garage? You don't really. And you just need a functional building to house your stuff. And but they were thinking, I don't know if any of you've seen the new fire department in Northbridge. It's incredibly fancy dancy, so and it's not really necessary. And that's what architects do so well.
Well,
Well, it seemed like we had a path forward when we were talking about getting this quote from Weston and Sampson. I know they're not happy with that firm anymore, but is the next step the same as it was, but with a different company, or with this Stephen Dix? Or
Well, let me
I guess that would be my question.
Let me ask Matt if a viable strategy would be to go out to bid saying we're looking for an engineer, whatever party, whatever it would be, to take these plans we have, cheapify them if possible, update them, or at least like, well, I don't know, just finding out. Maybe we need to just do the work and put in the plan, get the plans. Maybe that's where our grant money goes next year is, we get these plans 100% updated, where we would have a quote and then we would have it. I know historically there's been a lot of bad feelings about these Van Voorhis plans, which is why I've never suggested that before, but it seems like that might be shifting.
I feel like at this point there's actually bad feelings about us not coming
All
up
of
with a
them.
concrete plan. So it's kind of, I mean, we still need to go through the process. There's no way to cheap out of it. We could simplify the plans, hopefully, but
Mm-hmm.
we
I don't
can't
think
we
much.
can't get around the process. The process is what it is. We're a town building. We're not going to be able to finance it all of ourselves. Now, I'm not saying we should do that right now. Like you said, what's happening federally, it's hard to even imagine anything getting done. So if we just want to
I think it
keep
would be
fundraising,
possible.
that kind of makes
Mhm.
sense.
I don't think that we get this quote to come out anything less than 2.5 million, because that's what it
Oh,
was
I
in
know.
2011.
I'm thinking like 4
But
million.
there's some things that have happened between now and then, such as, the climate control updates, the weatherization of the
Yes.
attic, repointing work, maintenance that won't have to be a part of it. And like his plans also assume, aesthetics, on the exterior. And there's a lot of money to be saved if we don't care about aesthetics. And we're happy with, putting a prefab metal cube thing on the back. Considerations,
Right. I agree.
But anyway, I will find out if that's possible
Okay. All
You'll
right. So
talk
we're not
with
going to
Matt
solve it
and,
tonight.
and
I'm sorry.
talk to Cuppy.
okay, so those two you're going to. All right. Matt and Stephen. Thank you.
Okay. So we will, if it's okay, we'll keep this on the agenda and
It's not
continue
ever
this.
coming off.
All
Or
Right,
I'm not going
right.
to, while I'm around, it's never coming off.
right. Okay. In the interest of time, if we can move on to the basement and
Jeff Grenier was here working today. He's actually done with the basement now. All that's left is the light in the attic.
perfect. Be nice.
Do-
And you got 3 straps with a wet noodle for not having had a chance to seal the front steps, Justin.
Yeah, they need to be power washed first, I learned. And I do not have access to a power washer, but I might be able to fix that.
We have
And
a power washer,
can I borrow your power washer sometime?
huh?
Can I borrow your bower? Can I borrow your power washer sometime?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Anytime.
it really just needs to happen before winter, because what eats them up is the salt that goes on the
Right,
steps. So he said is nothing's going to happen between now and winter, which will lead to deterioration. But we just want to get it done before we spread salt. So
right.
I'll have it done before then.
Anytime, Justin, just let me know.
Okie doke.
Okay? All right.
Did
I
he
will
just
text you about that.
volunteer to come and repair them, or did he charge us?
He charged us. It was we approved it a few meetings
A
ago.
$1,000 quote? Oh, I thought
Yeah,
maybe he
repairing
just
the front
decided to
steps.
come. Holy bananas.
Nope.
I thought it was more around 400. Maybe not. Maybe I'm
I
mismemory.
remember something like 1,000 seems like an awful lot, but
Yeah.
What
Oh, you'd
exactly
have to
did he
look
do
back.
to them? What does he do to them?
well, whatever it was, we paid him.
Right.
apparently.
You paid
Yeah,
him.
there were there were
We're done.
like the corners of the steps out front. There was like cracks and crumbles in quite a few places, so they patched that up and just put fresh concrete in where it was crumbling away.
Well, actually, if that's his profession and he knows we get salt on it, you'd think maybe he would guarantee them, because we've had him several times, and either guarantee them or power wash them and cover them if that's his profession.
Well, we've never asked them to seal them before. We've only asked them to fix them, and I know there's some structural issues too underneath the mantle, because this kept happening like after they initially constructed the building and they ended up reconstructing like the steps from like halfway down or up or something like that. There's bills in Rebecca's logs of building updates. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about concrete or granite or all these things that are involved, but I know that the fact that, you know, we use salt on them all winter long, and the highway department uses salt that's particularly bad, apparently. Um, it just eats at them. So hopefully it'll help.
Okay. Under grants, capital campaign. A little bit of money came in.
Yeah.
Other grants did not receive the dollar grant, general early literacy grant.
I was shocked by this because I thought we were
I
assured
know.
for it. But looking at the list of grantees, I mean, they were all in like Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida. There was one recipient in Massachusetts. So I think that there's socioeconomic factors that kind of drove us out of the award pool.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to friends. Ellie, do you have an update?
We're still sort of behind on our memberships. We have maybe um, I don't know, 3,000 to 3,500, and we usually get closer to 4,000 or over 4,000 for memberships. So that's not been exciting to me at all.
I'm going to just say, I encourage all board members to be friends of the library.
And it only costs like $15 for a family or $5 if you're a senior or something like that.
Every little bit
It's all
helps.
tax deductible because
Yes,
we
it
are
is.
whatever it is.
501c3.
Yes, we are. So if Dawn, if you want to do a social media thing again to encourage people,
Sure,
would you do that?
sure. We'll do
Okay.
that.
Be careful out there on
And
social media. It's an ugly world these days.
It is.
Oh, I've got a thick skin.
then
So,
we started meeting for the planning the 2025 auction. It's the same dates because then we don't have to change our signs. And so it's let's see, when is it? October 9th to October 23rd. And let's hope that everybody can make donations to it. And I know that Justin's designed some stuff for something or other. If you want to talk about that, Justin,
What did I
didn't you?
design?
Something to do with the 2025 auction. You were it was a spiel for something or other, and I can't remember what it was. It was all within the last 24 hours. You proposed something, and then there were some edits to it, and then everybody thought it was hunky dory.
Oh, the flyer.
Yes.
Oh, that's the
Wasn't
wrong.
the
I
schematic?
don't think
Yeah.
that's it.
I don't want to look at the schematic
They're
recording.
not going to want to see that.
Oh, what am I searching for?
You had a
Something with
design?
friends. Or you did a flyer of
Here
some
we
sort.
go. All right, auction donation. I didn't do this flyer. Lisa did this flyer.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's no longer funner.
It's not
It's
funner.
fun
It's bigger,
and
more fun, and more eclectic.
yeah. So it's not funner and more eclectic.
I like funner.
And why is this zooming instead of scrolling? Oh, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. It's auction will run from October 9th to October 23rd, as it does every year, because that's what the big banner says. Um, And there will be an option this year because I anticipate we'll have a lot of space in the basement because we're going to be moving Deb into the storage room, consolidating her stuff. We're going to have to move archive stuff into the central room right after summer reading program so Brian can do these ceilings and fix them the same way he did that other room. But then once that's done, it's going to be a while before we do anything with that central room. It's just going to kind of be open space. So that should be available for auction this fall. So people will be able to just drop items off at the library this year and fill out a form. This will probably be the only year people will be able to do that, but that'll be an option.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we want to do better than last year. Last year we raised about $11,000, I think, Justin.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So we want more.
More
It all goes into the building fund that's managed by the town. So it gets good interest on it.
Yep. I have things all over my house that I've purchased from the auction.
I do too.
I have things under my desk that I purchased from the auction because I bought some Christmas presents and then forgot about them.
I'll tell you, I still have my daughter's Christmas present because I haven't been able to get out to see her. She's still in Massachusetts, but she's 150 miles away in Truro. So we've had trouble with my health and situations and whatever. So I still have her Christmas present. That part of which I bought on the auction.
Oh, cool.
It's almost her birthday. Damn it. Whatever.
Remember
Anyhow.
she Christmas present. Make it both.
Life gets in the way.
It's crazy. Anyhow, let's move on. IMLS, what's happening with that?
Nothing new to report, except continuing uncertainty. CWMRs is starting to talk about membership assessments in FY27 because there's a lot of FY26 revenue streams that were stable that are definitely going to go away in FY27. So they're trying to figure out how much they can increase our membership assessments without shedding any member libraries. So FY27, expect CWMRs to be able to go up. I don't know how much, but they're losing a lot of grant funding that made it made the bill they sent to libraries able to be smaller.
Should we talk about overdrive or not?
No, that's getting resolved. I got an email from the North American director of sales for Overdrive because I just reached out to them directly instead of trying to go through the Massachusetts MHEC or anything like that. And they're working on getting the contracts with the state sorted out, and it should happen well in advance of us spending $10,000 in Overdrive next fiscal year.
Okay.
Good.
That's huge.
That's huge.
That. Huge.
Very good.
So, I mean, we're almost at the end of we have like a week, less than a week, 6 days till the end of the fiscal year.
Now, the fiscal year is exactly 7 days away.
So, do you think there would be an answer before then?
No, there won't be an answer before then. They said they would have it sorted out within 3 to 4 weeks, which will put it into next fiscal year. But it won't matter because we won't have spent more than $9,999 with that vendor up until then. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, so here's what happened. For everyone on camera, and just a simple explanation. As a government entity, we're not allowed to spend more than $9,999 Oh, hey, Deb, there's a dog in my library. Anyway, we're not allowed to spend more than $10,000 with any individual vendor without going out to bid for the service. That's supposed to avoid, corruption and scandal and all sorts of stuff. The exception is if a vendor is on the state contract list, which is managed by MHEC, doesn't stand for anything, it's just what it's called. Um, and they negotiate contracts with vendors like Baker and Taylor, Overdrive, Demco, WB Mason, like all of our suppliers. And if they're on the state contracts list, we can spend up to $50,000 with that vendor before having to go out to bid. Overdrive ended up not on the state contracts list for next year, which affects us as well as every other library who spends more than $10,000 in Overdrive a year, all of the consortia. So we've been kind of, wondering what's been going on with this. Is Overdrive trying to pull out of the Massachusetts market, or did things just not get resolved and somebody didn't, cross their T's, dot their I's. And so, Overdrive didn't end up on the state contract. Turns out it's the latter situation, not the former. So we don't have to be afraid that Overdrive is disappearing.
Oh, good.
They are going to fix this on a state level. Overdrive reps are working with MHEC and the MLS to get, on the bid list. And this problem should be solved within 3 to 4 weeks. Which will be next fiscal year, but we will be nowhere near having spent $9,999 on
All right,
Overdrive
I got
within
it.
3 to 4 weeks. So
Understood.
this problem should be solved before we reach that threshold.
Can
Okay,
you
great.
summarize that on here and then when you send it all to me so I can do without me trying to listen to
Yes.
you and writing it down here? It's not going to come out right.
Okay, so that's great. That's good to know. We can move on then to EFOS.
Um,
Dawn, you have an update on that?
I do.
Does she ever?
I know. I got an email just like an hour before we were meeting too. So we're on the schedule with the recreation committee to make everything official this Monday, the 30th. I just emailed to make sure we had a time and all that good stuff. So Kate's part of our little subcommittee, and I'm keeping Justin in the loop and Sarah, whose idea it was. And I think I told you, maybe I didn't tell you, but we have an August 9th date, which is a Saturday, which is confirmed by several people with Music Box Films, who's a distributor, as well as the director and a whole crew. So they really want to make a big event out of this.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it's pretty nice, and they're offering some aspect of it themselves. So I'm just going to read this through if it's okay. They want to do
sure.
a cast and crew reunion game in the afternoon before the screening, and they'd invite people who worked on the film as well as friends of the film to play in the game. Um, they really said they get a lot out of the New England audience, and they want to, open up to people in Douglas, and maybe people from neighboring towns would come too. And then they would invite a broadcast crew to document the game, like a live telecast. They said whether or not it plays on live local TV is to be determined, but it would be for future promotional stuff and social media. Um, so this is me editorializing here. I was thinking that we'd open up the concession at it could be a moneymaker. We'd, open up the concession however that works, but they're offering to invite food vendors. I'm thinking like food trucks and sponsors so that people could be encouraged to enjoy the game from the sidelines. That's to be
Yeah.
determined, but they do have some connections there. Plus, maybe local Douglas businesses. And they'd sell some merch like the Blu-ray at the event, and then they have some connections to the local music scene, so they might have a band play between innings.
Wow.
So yeah, so it'll
Ooh.
be becoming like quite the thing. And so they just offered, they of course would be doing the filming and all that. We could have our little cable crew filming there if we wanted that as well, but I'm not sure we'll need it. And yeah, it sounds like a pretty interesting thing. We have to figure out a lot of logistics in the next month and a half, and as well as nailing. We do have the company, the 800 or so, who would bring the audio visual in the screen to show it and all that stuff. They're confirmed for that date. I told them we're like working out some logistics and they didn't need they didn't need us to pay anything yet up front, but pretty soon we're going to have to someone's going to have to be shelling out some money. So I do want to, I'm anxious for the 30th to come, which is just a few working days away, so that we can make it official. I don't know if there's any, town funds that can be part of it, what the library might want to put in, what we could maybe ask local banks for, and maybe what they have for connections.
Dawn,
Yes,
can I suggest you approach the Cultural Council? I know they have money left that they have to spend that they're not spending, but that
really.
they might.
We
Oh, yeah.
determined from looking online, we determined that the cutoff was done and we wouldn't be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Um, um,
You have inside scoop there.
well, I haven't been on the council for a while, but they have money that they're supposed to be spending. That's all I can say. Do
Okay.
you know Kathy Landers?
No.
All right, I know Kathy Landers. I could get in touch with her,
Right.
um, and find out if they need to spend money. The other thing is, local, baseball. Mark Fidrich is from around here.
Should
He's a
I know who that
baseball
is? I'm just such
great.
not a baseball person.
Huh?
I don't know who that is. Maybe I should know.
Mark Fidrich. Uh, I could look into Mark Fidrich. I could look into Cultural Council. I don't have a pen in front of me, but I will remember it.
Okay,
Send
great.
me send me a message. Send me a email or a message. Just
Sure.
say Mark Fidrich, Cultural Council.
Okay. Okay, great. I appreciate
But
that.
that could be something. Um,
Right.
Birdman. You don't remember the Birdman? Come on.
I don't know sports at
He
all.
was in Westboro, wasn't he? Didn't he die or somebody in his family died or
Is he still alive? He might not be alive anymore. I
yeah, no,
think he
I
might
remember
be
he was
dead.
from Westboro, yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, could try it.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. We
I
kind of figured out.
texted you. I don't know if I spelled it right, but Mark Fidrich, Cultural Council.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll look into it.
Okay. Thank you, Danielle. Um,
That's exciting.
Yes,
yeah,
very
it is.
exciting.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
right? Like
You might
catching a
need a bigger,
shark.
you might need a bigger screen, a bigger boat, like
Yeah.
expecting more people, they might need a bigger screen. Um, so yeah, and we determined the field is free that day. There's no games in all of August. They end at the end of July. So that's good. I started filling out the form. There's a town form that some people may know that you need to fill out that's the
Mhm.
um, use of a public place, and then the police and the fire and someone else signs off on it. So I already called the chief of police, and he was like, "Yep, sounds good. Just fill out that form." Everyone's given like kind of an unofficial go ahead for it. No one offered us any money, but
Look,
um,
if I'm just going to propose this, as in to the board. But what we've been using the William and Janet Carrick Fund for is like community programming. We've been using it to pay for Deb Hudgens, and there's a lot of money in there because I've never spent more per year than we get. Oh, actually, I say that, but it looks like this year we actually did. Um, but still, I feel like since this is kind of coming from us, if you encounter a situation where it's not going to move forward unless funding can be procured for something and nothing has been sorted out with the cultural council yet, would the board of trustees be willing to let them use some Carrick money for that, or even,
I think that's a
LIG
great
MEG.
idea, Justin, because the Carricks are related to the Schusters, who
Oh,
are was all connected with the whole
game.
baseball
Whole
thing that you're
enchilada.
talking about. Yeah. Yes, that's right. So that, I mean, that would be absolutely
So
appropriate.
I would,
The Carricks.
I would recognize a motion from someone to use money from
I'll
the
approve
Carrot
that.
Fund.
Yeah.
All right, second,
Second.
questions?
Sounds a little
Hearing none.
premature to me since we don't even know what the total price is. Do we have a number?
We have some estimates. We know it's 250 for the public showing of the movie. It was 800 for the audio visual. If we need to go with a bigger screen, then it would be more. And then I asked about like if there was specialty insurance or cleanup, that kind of thing, but I don't have that information from anybody yet that's going to come after the 30th. But I think what Justin is proposing is if we have a rough estimate where it's going to be like 1,500 to 2,500, depending on some of the questionable parts. It's if we're not getting the money or not getting it in time, how we could go about that.
Okay. Other discussion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor of, oh, we should have a dollar amount on this, from the Carrick account, Carrick Fund.
Well,
Should there
what?
be a,
To
So it's yeah, up to would be a good way to put it.
Yeah.
all right, up to the current balance is 22,000. Okay, and what did you say, Dawn, was the
It's
cost right now?
1,500 to a little over 2,000. So maybe what we do is do 2,000 on that. I don't know, is that too?
So that would be up to $2,000 from the Carrick Fund.
Right.
Right.
That sounds good to
Yes.
me.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion for that amount to be set aside from the Carrick Fund for the night in question in August.
August 9th. Um,
Second.
one, oh, sorry. Did I mess
That's
up
a
that?
Meanwhile, we didn't vote on
Do I
the
have a
others.
second?
second.
Lee gave a second.
All right, is there discussion?
It's good to me.
Hearing none? Oh, okay,
Sounds good.
all right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
That's
All
me.
right,
Abstaining.
okay,
One other thing, folks, is if we think of anyone in town who would be would have a relation to baseball or the film or something, we should also propose that they might want their name on a, advertising.
Dolores Colanero danced with Ted Williams,
Mhm.
the legend goes.
Who
Say
did?
that again.
I'm sorry, Laura, I couldn't hear you.
It is said that Dolores Colanero danced with Ted Williams
That is so
when they were in
cool.
town.
She has to be there in
Yeah, well,
Boston.
is she still alive?
Oh, yeah. I think she's still
Yes.
treasurer
Dolores
of
is?
the Historical Society.
All right, we'll have to get in touch with her.
Well, yeah, you know, the famous drinking water of Douglas, people live into their hundreds. I can't explain
Yeah.
it, but the hundred somethings, they're
Need
there.
some of that.
Anne wrote about the Douglas drinking water in one of the library's like strategic plans, like in describing the community. So I read about that.
I've never heard that.
Oh, you learn something every day. I'm drinking Douglas water. What's happening to me?
Yeah, I know. For a while, those water tests look a little funky, but now I think we're okay.
But yeah, I'm not too awful involved in this project. And I don't want to become too awful involved in this project since it was Sarah's idea. So the more she does, the better. But I do think that this will be good because like with this amount of funding, committed, even if you don't find anything else, and even if everything else falls apart, it would be enough to rent a screen and buy the movie license.
I think
Tell
we
me
Yeah.
should
who
create.
Sarah is. This is the first time I've heard it was
Oh,
Sarah's idea.
Sarah Guyman, you may know her. She
Okay.
Mhm.
tapes a lot
Yeah.
of the shows and stuff. So it was her idea to do this, and I made the mistake of running with it. For all the credit.
All right. Okay. Can we move on?
Yes.
Under new business, are there old business?
There's other new business.
Under new business. Hearing none. Next meeting is July 22nd. I have a motion to adjourn.
Is it at 6:30? 2:30.
Yes, 6:30.
6:30. Okay.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
move.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay.